Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is Indy Fanatics, your home for IndyCar content with weekly podcasts and feature videos. Welcome back to the IndyCar Podcast. It's the place where we chat IndyCar once a week. Bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yes, it's the place where we talk IndyCar every week and sneeze.
Sneezing's a good part of it.
It's winter season.
Yeah.
It's meant to happen. Don't judge. But yeah, we're here. It'd be a shorter episode today because obviously last week we did our winners and losers of the 2020 season, and I'm sure we'll come up with like some fun ideas to talk about over the podcast in this post-season. But we're just going to do basically a news roundup because there's been a fair few bits of news from the IndyCar world that's worth talking and giving our opinions on. And obviously, as always, guys, get involved in the comments below and let us know your thoughts on the stories. So first one I'm going to start off with is Force Indy. Basically, obviously, under the Penske administration, we know they all own and run IndyCar now. We know, obviously, with the diversity issues that have happened in the 2020 year, that the prominence of quality is a big issue that needs to be tackled. And especially in motorsport, it is definitely an area that's not diverse. I think there's never been a driver who's ever driven a black driver who's ever driven a full IndyCar season. And I believe it's only Willie T. Ribbs who has competed in the Indy 500 back in the 90s. So, you know, that's a massive issue of diversity, as obviously there's a huge African-American population within America and a lack of representation within the motorsport community. And that's across all forms of motorsport. But IndyCar are making their step. And in the US F2000 series, Force Indy, it will be backed by Team Penske. They'll be working, obviously use their links, use their connections within the sport. We know how good Team Penske are at bringing in sponsorship and bringing in names to kind of, you know, a sustained period. I think on average, you know, sponsors usually work with Penske for about 10 years, which is massive, I think, in the motorsport industry. And it's a real statement from them. They're not just doing words. They're not just kind of coming up with mission statements or things we will do to quality. They're actually putting their money where their mouth is. And I think it's great because it puts the team is focused on bringing African-American drivers, engineers, and obviously team principals, everything that goes around with the team pit crew, an opportunity onto the ladder of IndyCar. Obviously, USF 2000 is at the bottom with the ladder of the Cooper tyre sponsored ladder that obviously goes into the what it used to be the Mazda Pro. What is it now? Completely Indy Pro, I think it is 2000 off the top of my head, before going into the Indy Lights, and then obviously IndyCar above that. But, you know, it's really providing a platform for talented African American motorsport personnel a chance to progress into IndyCar, which you can only give credit for.
It's only a positive. It's only a positive.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think it is fantastic, and fantastic that Team Penske have made this push. They're at least doing something.
Yeah.
You can never have a go at someone for actually doing something and trying to make a change. And it's a really positive for the Team Penske administration. Yeah. Massive, big tick for them.
It's all good saying stuff, but, you know, when they actually start doing stuff, that's when you know.
Yeah. And
that's when you know change is coming.
I believe, I don't know, across motorsport, obviously you have the W Series, which is part on the feeder series ladder with the idea of getting a woman into Formula One. But I'm pretty sure this is the only motorsport category worldwide that has made this sort of statement and actually backing a team to provide a place to try and tackle diversity within motorsport. Yeah. So yeah, big statement. But yeah, that was the big one. Probably The next big one, Ferrari, Stephen, do you want to cover that?
So Ferrari, we spoke about it a few weeks ago now, that Roger Penske was in talks of bringing Ferrari in as the third manufacturer in IndyCar. But an Italian media source has said Ferrari are no longer interested and are actually going down the route that many manufacturers are going down at the moment. That is going to the World Endurance Championship and supercars and all that good stuff like Persia, Audi.
Yeah, I think they're the big two names that obviously have committed to it for the new regulations that are coming in hypercars for the 2022 season.
Yes, but of course, Roger Penske, this is unconfirmed. Ferrari have not actually come out and said any of this. And Roger Penske has instantly disputed the claim and is saying talks are still ongoing with the Italian manufacturer.
Yeah, I think if Roger Penske is like, Ferrari may never come. I feel like, when you're getting someone as big as Ferrari into a sports category, arguably the most recognisable name in the world of motorsport, the brand of Ferrari is, even if you're not a motorsport fan, even if you're not a car fan, you know what Ferrari is when you hear the name. So, yeah, even if it doesn't materialise, it kind of feels like there is going to be this baton thing. They may go the hypercar route because that's proving a very, very popular option for kind of sports car racing. And, I don't think Ferrari have won the top category in Le Mans since 1965, where I believe Jochen Rindt was driving for them in that year. So a very long time, considering, the early change in post-war, in post-war racing, Ferrari were the dominant force in the Le Mans category. It definitely will be interesting to see how this story develops. It's another twist and turn. It's going to be one of those ones that I think we're not going to know until 2023. I think the hybrid engine will be the make or break of whether Ferrari enter the sport.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And they're definitely going to enter with their own engine, because you would never have Ferrari enter powered by Honda or powered by Chevy. That just wouldn't happen. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that one develops. Another one in the news was Donald Davidson, Indianapolis Motor Speedway historian, the guy who basically turned his passion for the Indy 500 into a career. And I think I saw a quote from AJ Foyt going, "There will never be anyone like Donald. I think he knows my career better than I do." In terms of it. That's how much he knows about IndyCar. And, he's just been such an asset. Obviously, we've never been to the Indy 500 over here in the UK, and Donald actually is from the UK, a British guy from there. I think he went over in the 60s before he kind of made it a long-standing gig, early signs of getting involved in the radio out there. But he's a guy that has been involved with Indy and the Indy 500 for absolute years, and just an absolute stato nerd. He just loves the Indy 500, and he's been such a credit to the sport and such a credit to the Indy 500. I think a regular face that's kind of become known and very popular with people, and just his encyclopedia of knowledge that he just has going in his head about the Indy 500 will probably be unrivaled. You never know. You never want to say never, but just what a guy, and wish him the best of luck in his retirement. And he's certainly earned it. I think he was been thinking about retirement for a few years, and I think lockdown and spending stuff at home was the final kind of push.
The final push.
Maybe
out the door.
Out the door. But maybe the final one that goes, you know what, I've had a good run. I'm just gonna enjoy the Indy 500 as a fan now, which I'm sure Donald will do for many years to come. But yes, interesting news on Santino Ferrucci.
Yes, possibly going to IndyCar. Obviously,
Sorry. Santino Ferrucci. And that's crazy. He's possibly going to IndyCar, the series he already drives in.
Possibly go to NASCAR.
There we go.
We all thought that Dale Coyne seat was basically Ferrucci's, but change of heart, tempting offer to go to NASCAR, possibly for next season, which all leaves what's going to happen to that Dale Coyne seat if Ferrucci does go to NASCAR. He's had a good season. He had a good Indy 500. But if he does go to NASCAR, who's going to fill that Dale Coyne seat?
Yeah, it sounds like, obviously, from watching, you guys probably watching this will know of David Land, who is more of the kind of newsy, informative IndyCar channel on YouTube. Fantastic. Watching him, it sounds like funding isn't quite there for Santino as much as it had been in the past. NASCAR's always sort of appealed. NASCAR, it's not single-seater. Probably is the bigger series, I think, fair to say, than IndyCar at the moment, with how they've really gone full in on American sports with their whole kind of playoff system at the end of the season. So maybe Ferrucci wants to kind of try his luck and test his luck in that series. We've always had that. Well, we're seeing more crossovers. Jimmy Johnson coming this way. Be interesting to see Santino go that way. Whether it would be for him to drive part-time Indy 500 as well.
Maybe. Because he had a decent Indy 500.
Yeah, I believe he finished fourth this year. He's always driven fairly well at the Indy 500 as well. But yeah, like you said, opens up a door for, well, there was already one with Palou moving to Chip Ganassi, but potentially two seats. Obviously, Roman Grosjean's been rumoured there, although the rumours now are more strongly that Roman Grosjean will go to AJ Foyt Racing, if at all. That seems to be his strongest contact within IndyCar or within motorsports in terms of a move at the moment. That maybe is thrown into doubt with obviously the horrible crash that he was involved in the Bahrain GP, but you never know. He might still want to come over to IndyCar and prove his stuff. He certainly wants to. I don't think he's done with racing, but whether he would prefer to go to sports car, where it's fair to say it's a bit safer than the single seaters. We obviously know at the high speeds that single seaters go, and it's just by its very nature. Although safety, like for Grosjean's crash, has come on leaps and bounds, it will never entirely be safe in that aspect. But yeah, not Enzo Fittipaldi. He is racing in Formula 3? Yeah, he was Formula 3 this year. But Pietro, who obviously has been stepping in for Grosjean at the end of the season, potentially he has driven in IndyCar. I think he made his debut over there a couple of years ago. Never secured a full-time seat, but you never know, might secure a full-time seat with Dale Coyne going forward. So that'll be interesting to see. Again, the driver market, it's always turning and changing. We don't know where these seats are going to end up. No. And probably the last bit of news today, we said it would be a shorter one just as a news roundup, will be Colton Herta and his move higher up within the Andretti Autosport ladder. Well, sorry, Stephen's blanked on it. It's the number 26 car. Obviously, a lot of people were expecting Hinch to drive that car. I think Hinch will drive. I think it's pretty much confirmed he will drive for Andretti next year. But yeah, Colton's been with Andretti Autosport with who was the team he was linked with? Anyway, it was like a partnership team with Andretti Autosport, but he now goes into one of the main three Andretti Autosport cars alongside Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi.
Fully deserved based on last year's performance.
Absolutely.
Well,
so
towards the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that number 26 Gainbridge Andretti Autosport car really is a serious intention, and it was always going to happen in sooner or later, because Colton Herta in his 2 seasons in IndyCar has been nothing short of brilliant. So it's going to be exciting. We did say that, being successful on the road courses, that the 2021 calendar should suit him.
Yeah.
This is a big statement probably from Andretti to go, well, come on, Colton, come into it, and we're really going to go for this next year.
Yeah.
I think a big statement from the team.
I think it almost had to be done because now you have that strong... Well, okay, Ryan Hunter needs to bounce back, but he needed to be in that top 3 because he is an incredible talent, an incredible young talent, and they basically secured his future at Andretti. Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah,
big one. But unless you've got any more stories off the top of your head, Stephen, from the world of IndyCar this week.
Was it Peroni from F3 possibly going to Indy Lights?
That's the thing. Yes.
Is he Australian or New
He is
Zealand?
Australian. He is Australian.
Yes. Alex Peroni?
Yeah, so obviously Alex Peroni, we would know more here in Europe. So he's been driving in F3 the past couple of years, obviously driven in other junior championships before that. F3 was involved in that horrible crash in 2019, where his car basically went over the sausage curb, flipped and ended up on a barrier.
Yeah.
He was lucky to walk away with that with just damage to his back. I think he walked out of the car, which was crazy, and I believe it was Monza, so it was the weekend after obviously the tragic death of Anton Hubert and Juan Manuel Correa's career-changing injuries that he suffered the previous weekend. I believe it was a double header, or there was maybe a week's break in between it, but yeah, irrelevant of that. It was a pretty scary time, but he's come back for Campos and he drove pretty well in a season where Campos, they're a strong team, but they're not challenging at the top end. They're not really the drivers who are going to be competing for the championship, especially when Prema have such a stronghold on the F3 championship. So he had some really standout performances, has to be said. I think we've got to quote him as well. Yeah, race win.
Yeah.
So yeah, he would be fantastic to come over in Indy Lights. And with Will Power getting on in years, IndyCar need to look to the future of who's going to be their future Australian in the series, clearly.
Of course, the series always needs an Australian.
It does. But yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. But yes, any more?
No.
Any more? That's it. That's it from us today, guys. We hope you've enjoyed this quick little news roundup on the IndyCar podcast. Like I said, there were plenty of little kind of news stories we wanted to just round and tell off together and give our thoughts and opinions on this week. As always, let us know your thoughts on the topics in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from them as always. But yes, if you're new around here or haven't done so already, Stephen, what can they do?
You can like, subscribe, and ding that bell.
Ding it! So for now, you Indy fans, keep racing!